Hi, my name's Trina Wilcox, and this is the Tell Me More segment for Run Radio. And my guest today, Linda McDougall. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. We were talking a little bit before we started about writing, but you've got more to share than just your aspect on putting a book together. You've been doing a lot for Senior Health Advocate, and that's something that I think is very necessary just for health advocates in general. But I want you to share your story about why it's so important and what you're doing to help.
Well, I am a senior, number one, and that I've always worked with disabilities of some sort. And as I got older and I got trained to be a massage therapist, I knew at that point in time, and I was in my 50s then, that I was going to be for seniors and the disabled. So mostly it's seniors, but a lot of seniors are disabled. So it worked out in one way or another. But yes, it's always been very important to me. Seniors are, I guess they're more looked at today than before, but they're still not treated as well as they should be.
You know, yeah, there's the healthcare is it's a lot for anybody, but when you're not feeling well or you're distracted, almost anyone needs someone there to help them with questions and, remember things that they're not going to remember when they get home or things that they need to ask on the spot because there's a lot happening. So, what can somebody look for when they are looking for an advocate? I mean, not everybody can just grab a family member to go on the journey with them.
And I don't know how many senior health advocates there are. Being a massage therapist, I learned a lot about the body. I've worked with disabilities. I used to run 2 group homes for United Cerebral Palsy adults, so they were all wheelchair bound and had their own issues. So I have a lot of disability background, and I'm looking at the physical and not from a necessarily medical aspect, because
Okay.
sometimes people mistake advocacy for medical, and I am not a medical professional. However, I look at seniors in a variety of ways. Like I had a brand new client this last week who, after I was through and gone, he told his wife, and he's got dementia. He told his wife that I had not worked hard enough on him. He wanted a deeper massage. And I texted her back and I said, this is why I asked for medication history. This is why I asked for medical history, because I need to know what kind of massage I can do without impairing him further or possibly endangering him. People don't seem to think that massage can hurt you, but it can.
All right. Yes.
It can also kill you if it's the wrong one. And with adult seniors, you really can hurt somebody. So I told her, I said, he's obviously had heart surgery. He's on blood thinning medications. That is not something that you want a deep massage for, because that means he's got a history of blood clots. Do you want one loosed on him?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do a deep massage, and we need to talk to him about that. And she was very understanding. Because she didn't understand, like most people don't, why I asked for those things. I'm only a massage therapist. What am I asking this for?
Right.
Massage therapist just as a massage, they don't understand the implications. I can kill somebody, I can hurt somebody, and that's not something I'm there to do.
Right. Very true. What are a lot of things that, you see in people when it comes to aging health topics? What are some of the things that they need to be aware of and, be thinking a little more mindfully of as, as fortunate as we are to age?
Well, the biggest thing that I seek on an everyday, well, there's several things, and they're all kind of combined, which is why I am writing my course too, because I got tired of people not seeing the bigger picture.
Okay.
Best be looking at your posture and your bone health.
Okay.
Okay. Because posture is everything in aging, bone health is everything in aging, foot health is everything in aging. Get those three in order. And that's what my course is all about, is telling you how to do that, and the pros and cons of doing it or not doing it.
Okay.
There's a lot of osteoporosis. There's no need for that if people took care of their bones early. A lot of people say, oh, I inherited this. Well, maybe you inherited a tendency. We all inherit tendencies for things. I have a tendency to Alzheimer's. I have a tendency to Parkinson's. Doesn't mean I have them. It means that you can do your health in ways that help not go there.
Yeah.
And bone health is simple if you know what to do. It just isn't calcium alone. And a lot of people will tell you it's calcium alone, and it is not. It's a whole array of minerals. Other things, as a matter of fact, so vitamin K, vitamin D, you name it,
Strength
So
training.
walking, well, I do a lot of walking, and because I have two dogs, so I walk.
Yes.
I got my first one, so I would make sure and walk, because I get sucked into my projects, and I can sit there all day, getting things done. So I got him, what, 4 years ago now, so that I would be made to walk every day and get up and do things. And just before I got on here, I was playing ball with both of them because they wanted to play ball.
Yes. Dogs will keep you on your toes. That's for sure.
And that's what I needed. So they've both been good for that.
So what made you decide to put all of your experience into a book?
Because of what I didn't see working for seniors, and what
Okay.
people weren't seeing, caregivers, and this is caregivers of all stripes, everywhere from the executives down to the caregivers who actually take care of the clients. They don't see the postural things that could help. My course that I'm writing and part of the book is on the vices of mobility devices. And that's because I see senior after senior after senior, and I live in a senior community, by the way, as well. I see them either misusing their devices or not getting the correct device or not having it adjusted correctly for them. And so that's deteriorating their health on a daily basis. And it's across the country.
So are they just being sent home with the device and no knowledge at all given to how to use it? How is this happening?
I'll tell you, back in my 50s, early 50s, first of all, before we went to Hawaii, I had all of a sudden a bunch of oral work done. And I had never had that before. And so I was wondering what was going on with me. We got to Hawaii, and after a year or so, I missed some stairs going down the stairs and fell, broke the bone that goes to my little toe,
Oh no.
and went to Tripler Hospital, where they cast the foot and all that, and then sent me out with crutches. Well, at that time, I didn't know any better, and I took the crutches as they were, and they were way too high. So I was like this. And I fell, and I fell, and I fell, and I fell,
Oh,
to the point that my husband and I went to a medical supply store to get a walker instead, because we didn't know anything about crutches, and they
right.
obviously didn't tell me anything. They gave them to me, and I was out the door. This is happening in the medical supply stores as well for clients here and clients across the country. And that doesn't mean every medical supply store doesn't tell you, but there's certainly enough of them that aren't,
Right.
or I wouldn't see what I see on a daily basis. And I don't know, it becomes very frustrating to me because this is avoidable. This is preventable. And I'm all about preventing the preventable because that's what's killing us more than the diseases and stuff in some cases. I mean, a senior falls, breaks a hip, and they're out of business. They're in a nursing home from then on, quite often.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel well, and it's just, and why? Because somebody gave them a device that wasn't meant for them, or that didn't fit them, or didn't tell them how to get it to fit them. And so they use them as they come, just like I did, because I didn't know any better at the time.
That's scary. Yeah, that's frustrating. Okay, well, let's talk about you say you know a lot about some side effects right in our own cabinets that we could be avoiding. Tell me a little bit about that.
Can't even say it. Nutritional thieves in your medicine cabinet. Almost every pharmaceutical you take, be it off the shelf or be it a prescription, sucks different vitamins and minerals from the system. Diuretics alone will flush out half of your minerals, if not all of them. And how many seniors are on diuretics for swollen legs and and they don't know to replace them because they don't know it's leaving. And then you can get low potassium problems, and you can get low iron problems, and you can get low calcium problems. I mean, it goes on and on. And if you don't know, you don't know. Aspirin takes out like 5. You've got to know, and they were giving aspirin to people on a daily basis, even though they were baby aspirins eventually. They killed enough people with the full strength ones that they got it down better to baby.
Oh my gosh, it's frightening, and it's frightening because I know what I've seen, so I can imagine what you've seen. What do we do to what do we do to make it better?
Education, self-education. That's why I'm writing courses. I will probably do nutrient thieves in your medicine cabinet next year sometime. Right now, I'm finishing the Vices of Mobility Devices to get that up, hopefully before the end of November is what my target date is for me, but by the end of the year for sure.
And who are these courses for? Are they for the patients or the caregivers or both?
This one is going to be for either, because
Okay.
if the patient is cognizant enough, then they can take care of some of these things on their own. If they need a caregiver, then it's for caregivers as well, because I see caregivers not understanding what they see right in front of them often, and that's another problem because they're
But it
not
is.
trained to see what they see, you know what I mean?
No, oh yes, absolutely. All we can do is be curious and ask questions, but sometimes we don't know what to be asking and the right things to be bringing with us to a doctor's visit or the emergency room. So it's almost like we need a checklist constantly of those things.
Unfortunately, the world is full of things that you need to know, and nobody can keep up, which is
Yeah.
again writing the courses and doing that kind of stuff so people will have a place to go and at least figure out a few things, because it's crazy. If you don't know these things, your health deteriorates for no particular reason than you didn't know.
Hmm. Yeah. If we can avoid it, we've got to.
Well, if you want to be healthy and aging, and I see so many people who aren't, and it's when you know that a lot of it is avoidable if you start early enough. Now, for bones, just let me put this out there, bones take 7 years to completely regrow because they're constantly turning over.
Hmm.
So it takes 7 years to be completely new bones.
Hmm.
So know that, because if you're in your 50s and you're not taking care of your bones, or if you're even 40, because you don't know how long you're going to live, you could be like I was and get osteoporosis diagnosed, in your 50s.
Hmm.
I mean, that's what the teeth are all about. Teeth or bones. If you start getting a lot of dental problems, I'd suggest getting some bone scans.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can we go to sign up for some of your classes?
Well, they're not out yet. Like I
Okay.
said, toward the end of the year, but mastermind.com is going to be one of the places that they will definitely appear. And I'm hoping on my website, loveyourlongevity.com as well, later on. I just haven't seen what the terms are for mastermind.com, and some places don't let you do your courses elsewhere.
Okay.
So I haven't seen that yet. So
What else would you like to share that I haven't thought to ask?
I do want to talk about the book.
Yeah.
It's The Spirit Method of Massage for Seniors, Raising the Bar. It's a primer for massage therapists and caregivers. And there's a lot of stuff about massage and what you need to know for working with seniors, but the caregivers need to know a lot of that too, which is why I made it and caregivers. There's just so much that the caregivers don't know and don't see because they're taught from a medical framework. I have had, he must have been over 6 feet tall, Parkinson's client who had been, he'd been seen by family, by caregivers, everybody, and nobody had seen what I saw right off the bat. He was in this little tiny recliner. So his knees were up here. And then the table beside that little tiny recliner he was in was also tiny with a low lamp. So this poor man, who was an avid reader despite his Parkinson's, and it was a bad case of Parkinson's, he had to lean his knees over, he had to lean his body under that lamp, and nobody thought anything of that. They saw that every day. It was normal for him. And I'm going, what are you doing? And they never did fix it before he died. That made me so sad because it's deforming him just to read. And he's got problems. Why do that?
Yeah.
So this is what I mean by people not seeing what's right in front of them.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if you probably see a lot too, like the caregiver, even though it's hard for them, what you're saying, it's important for them to be educated as well because they have a little bit of bias towards the patient. They want the patient to be comfortable and they take everything, at their face value. Oh, you're hurting, or oh, she didn't press on your muscle hard enough, but they're not thinking from your point of view why that is. And that's why it's really important for that caregiver to understand, to extract as much from the patient factually and not get too much of emotion involved so they can take some facts back to the doctor or the massage therapist or the other party helping out in that. So do you have any tips on a good way for them to do that and kind of be a little less emotional about it and into what they're seeing? Because that Parkinson's caregiver probably just wanted him to be comfortable, and they thought well, he's just fine right there reading, and like you're saying, he was just mashed up and doing more harm than good.
Exactly. And one of the things, there's a lot of caregivers who are, as you said, so involved in the caregiving that they're basically codependents.
Right.
Okay. They want to do everything for somebody else. Well, that can harm somebody in and of itself because you're not allowing them to be as independent as they can be, as productive as they can be, because you're doing everything for them. And I'm going to be on a panel the 24th, I think, for the Parkinson's Resource Organization about when somebody should decide to go into a senior living place rather than stay home.
Okay.
And part of that is knowing what you're doing to your caregiver. I mean, there's two sides to this story because the person wants to stay home, and we all know that and wish them as best, but usually their caregivers are about their same age.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being worn to a frazzle eventually. And if they're busy trying to make that person comfortable all day long, they're doing nothing for themselves to refresh and to recharge and to be able to have some kind of a life of their own. And that's what caregivers do, unfortunately. And they need to be more objective. And they need to look at the client and they need to ask questions. How are you today? Is there anything that hurts? What can I do for you that to make you more comfortable? I mean, there's just, look at the person. If you see a person that's doing something like this, then there's something wrong. Now, it may have been something that's wrong for a long time, and therefore you're not going to be able to do much, but find out why things are the way they are.
Yeah. Ask questions.
And they may be, you may not get an answer because people don't want to bother anybody, especially this last generation of seniors. I think my generation will be a little louder, but our parents' generation didn't want to bother anybody.
Yeah.
So they never question the doctor, they never question anybody, and they're
Yes.
just kind of passive. Now, my mother wasn't, but my dad was then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, speak to that too. When a patient is, let's say we'll go with the doctor's office setting, and they have that tendency to be passive, but they have that nudging. They need to be listening to their self that something's not right and ask questions. What do you have to say about that?
Oh yeah, that you. Oh, if you don't advocate for yourself or have somebody there that's advocating for you with you, you don't get your questions answered. You don't find out anything. You don't know what those drugs do to your system. Now your pharmacist may be able to tell you, but do you ask them? I mean,
Exactly.
ask somebody, start talking, because medications have side effects as well. I had a lady who was a weekly client. She was there every week. And all of a sudden, she just disappeared off my calendar.
Oh.
Now, this was in a retirement home setting. So after several weeks, I decided to go find her and see what was wrong. And actually, I didn't find her at the time. I found some of the staff and asked them, and they said, oh, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
And so she had just retreated. Now, about a little over a year after that, I was walking across that campus, and this car comes up and gives a light honk and wave, and it turned out to be her and her daughter.
Okay.
They roll down the window, and everybody says hi, and the daughter says, when you have a moment, come up to mom's apartment. I did that. That woman had spent over a year advocating for her mother, and I found out that the newest drug the doctor had put her on had sent her into that mental state. And it took her over a year to get that drug taken off so that her mother was back.
Oh my goodness. That is another thing that people don't realize. Your doctors, that they do their best, but they don't always catch every other medication you're on and all the interactions. So it is okay to ask, is this going to interact with such and such? Is this okay? What do I do if I start having this side effect? It is okay to ask. It's your life, not your doctor's life. So you've got to ask.
And that's exactly the way to look at it. This is your life.
Yeah.
That's exactly, because if you just let everybody dictate to you what's going to happen, then it's not your life anymore. You've surrendered it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is tough to do. We trust these doctors and nurses and healthcare, but they are overwhelmed, and many have our best interests at hand, but others are just trying to get through the day and are human. So,
And they don't have the time. When I was
yeah,
young, you could spend half an hour with them.
yeah. Oh, goodness, dude.
Do you realize that massage therapy, these fingers, are some of the only fingers and eyes that see the entire body anymore?
Mm, yeah. Oh, I know. Sometimes my mother went in complaining of a backache. They didn't even touch her back. Didn't
Yep,
touch her back, just trying to get her a script and get her out of there. I was
exactly.
so frustrated on her behalf, I can't even tell you.
And
So
that's exactly
yes.
the problem. Why a script? You don't know what's wrong yet.
Yeah, I was like, how did they know? They didn't test, they didn't x-ray, they didn't touch to just feel.
Yeah,
Yes, I know. I know. I know. Well, thank you for sharing what you have shared. I hope that your attempt to educate will really fall into the hands of the people that need it most. We can take action and be very aware of what we need to be aware of when taking our health into consideration.
I hope so too. And thank you so much for being your own advocate.
Yes. Come back anytime. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Trina.